Hey everyone, welcome back to the Get Marketing Podcast. I'm John, your host, and I'm here to help you get marketing in the digital space. I'm so excited to be with you all today, and our guest is Alinka Rutkowska, who is a USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling author and CEO of Leader Press. Alinka, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
Well, I'm so excited for our conversation today because I think this is one topic that really fits in well to our listener base as entrepreneurs and business owners and CEOs. Is oftentimes we think about in business our day-to-day, but very little do we think about our legacy or telling our stories. So I think what you're helping to provide entrepreneurs and CEOs is an opportunity to tell their stories, not only to teach, but to kind of leave and deliver that legacy, which really that's how we all learn. A friend of mine once said, experience is excellent as long as it's someone else's. So can you tell me a little bit more about Leader Press and how you help business owners and CEOs?
Of course, at Leaders Press, we help entrepreneurs turn their ideas into best-selling books. And we do this by interviewing them, ghostwriting the books, and then orchestrating structured campaigns to get them on the Amazon, USA Today, or Wall Street Journal best-selling lists. We got 198 authors on the USA Today bestseller list, so it's
Wow.
pretty impressive. I'm very proud of it. We also help our authors get into bookstores through our distribution partnership with Simon & Schuster. That's one of the largest publishers in the US. So come with an idea and leave with a best-selling book. That's what we do.
That's fantastic. I love that. I have to ask, how did you get started? What's your story? If you were going to write the book and I was going to ghostwrite it for you, what's your story? How did you get started with this idea to help to tell better stories through the business in these business world?
I think it started really early on. When I was in elementary school, I started a newspaper for the school, and I really enjoyed that process, putting it together, then getting my classmates asking to contribute articles, and I would do all the formatting and creation on my computer, print it out, photocopy it, staple it together, and distribute it at school and make money. I think that was the best part. So I enjoyed that a lot. Then I went through business education. I went to the business schools, and then I went into the corporate world and climbed up the corporate ladder. And at a certain point, I left because I thought maybe there's more to life than what I was doing there. And I decided to follow my passion, which was I wrote a book. I wrote a book. That book did really well. And other authors started asking me if I can do for them what I did for my book. And then it wasn't, of course, a straight line. It was, up and down and zigs and zags. But at a certain point, I stopped doing custom work and one-on-one stuff and put together Leaders Press, which was basically these elegant solutions for entrepreneurs to come in and get their book done from scratch, just the whole thing. And I tell this story because this really is me following my passion, putting together the two things that I really, really have always enjoyed. And one is publishing and writing, which, I demonstrated with that newspaper story from school. And the second is business, which is what I studied and working in multinational corporations. So now we do books for entrepreneurs. So it's business and publishing all together. So it's really me living the dream.
That is, I think that's not only everyone's goal is to live the dream, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs can resonate with that because seemingly a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that I speak with, that's really why they got into what they're doing. A lot of times, they had a goal, they wanted to fix a problem, or they had a solution to someone else's challenges. And so it does connect to how when you were, a young girl and you were helping your classmates tell their stories better, that you would only take that through as your passion, is this idea. And I've always believed in this, especially in what we do in the advertising world, is helping to tell better stories and connect people with better solutions. So I guess, why would somebody come to you to write that book? What are some of those motivating factors when you listen to them that you're able to say, you know what, here's how we can help? What's that process look like?
Well, there are two main reasons why people want to get their books done with us. One is for lead generation purposes. So when you think about Amazon, it really is a search engine. So when you have a book that answers a question and your prospects are looking for those answers, a well optimized book will pop up on top of the search results because Amazon is a search engine, and you're gonna find those leads. And then when you are able to put in a link in your book that will send people to your landing page and they will opt in, then you really have a great way to continue your relationship with them. So lead generation is one of the big reasons, and then that's also lead conversion, because when somebody reads your book, you become an authority in their eyes. So if you're going to do a sales call, for example, then it's going to be a completely different conversation than if they hadn't read anything. Because if you get a cold person, they're going to be like, so what do you do? And how are you different from everybody else? So really these annoying questions that you get asked all the time. If they read your book, the conversation is completely different. You've gained an incredible amount of credibility and authority, and then they already come in knowing what you do, how you do it, who you do it for. The conversation is about what the details would look like for their specific situation. So just completely different level, and the authority comes with it. So lead generation to grow your business, number one, and then number two is a legacy piece. So it's basically who's going to tell your story. We're here right
Right.
now, we're all here right now. 100 years from now, probably nobody's gonna, from you guys listening and from us, will be here. Maybe a couple, but probably nobody. Let's make it a 200 years. Okay, everybody's gone, but your book lives on. So who's going to tell your story? What legacy do you want to leave, and how do you want it to be told? Do you want somebody else to talk about you, or do you want to share your story from your point of view and be remembered that way? So those two main reasons is why people come to us to get books done.
Well, I really love what you mentioned there about almost controlling the narrative. So when you're telling your story, you have the opportunity to give people that insight into what's important to you and what motivates you. And like you said, when I think about a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that I've spoken with, especially as they've been in business for quite some time, this concept of legacy and leaving that legacy, not only just for their current company, their children, or their employees, but even for, like you said, people on the outskirts, maybe seeing or watching their story from the sidelines. This concept of leaving a legacy is extremely important. And I feel that that is, even in today's world, becoming more and more of a milestone in your career, especially with so many other distractions, with so much noise out there from a content perspective. I think that that's a fantastic reason why you would want to engage in telling your story. And like you said, books will live on. Sure, the digital space is here, but even so, even in the digital world, that written down material of where someone consumes that later on is highly powerful and has multiple aspects to different ways that medium can be consumed. So I really love what you mentioned there. Obviously, there's certainly not an easy, it's not always easy, right? There's certainly some things that you've overcome to get here and to create Leader Press. What are some obstacles that you or someone who may want to leave that legacy through the book form? What are some of those obstacles that they might have to overcome? Is it creativity? Is it the process? Is it the technical side? Maybe you could describe a little bit of that and maybe assuage someone's fears that says, "Hey, I don't know what to do if I'm going to write a book, or I've never written a book before." What are some of those things you could help them to kind of put their mind at ease?
Well, there's a lot of fears when wanting to write a book, and maybe the major one is that it's going to be a terrible book, or that nobody's interested in my story, or what do I have to say. So I think it's really important to realize that some people can only really get something by listening to the way you say it. So, I mean, imagine just maybe if you were not that great at math at school, maybe somebody explained a concept to you several times, you didn't get it, and then somebody else came in, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
think about your audience when you write your book. that's when they might actually get what you're trying to convey when they read your words, as opposed to others that weren't able to get that message across as well. And another fear is, well, who's does the world need another book? So yes, it does for this reason. Then if you want to grow your business, then you need that book to grow your business. And so it's almost like saying, does the world need another song, right? Or does the world need another pizza flavor? Yes, because there's always a part of the audience, the population, that wants that. There's just so much variety. You want to find your own tribe and or grow your tribe, and you're going to do that by producing your content. So I think that's really important. And then a lot of it is about, well, the how. Okay, how do I do that? And that's a huge question. You can spend 10 years trying to learn the how. So I think we should change that question into who. Not how do I do that, but who can do that for me? And if you're looking for a who, I'm more than happy to help.
Well, absolutely. And of course, that's why we're doing this show together, helping each other promote and present that message. I'll give the audience a chance to learn how to get in touch with you in a second, but I would like to know, maybe you have some key takeaways that we can kind of encapsulate our conversation today that someone should know when they're thinking about this whole process. Because like you said, does the world need another book, or does the world need another song? I think we both would say absolutely. And if I don't stray too far off, but we could quote Sir Paul McCartney and say, what's wrong with silly love songs? But there's always need for more joy and for more engagement, more content. And like you said, someone's perspective story that resonates because you're telling a unique perspective can change someone's trajectory. And really, at the end of the day, in marketing or advertising or business or whatever we're doing, if we impact and engage customers in a positive way, even that one person, to me, that's a win, right? Connecting a business that has a solution with someone that they can help. So what are some key takeaways for our audience today?
The key takeaway is to start with the end in mind. So if you're going to do a book, go to a bookstore, find a bookshelf that your book would belong to, and start thinking, okay, I know where my book goes. Now, how does it stand out? So give your reader a reason to get your book and not the ones on that bookshelf that are not yours. So that's the most important part. Start with the end in mind. Once you have that, you start working on your outline. If it's a memoir, then it might be chronological. If it's something to grow your business, you might have a framework or a solution that you've developed, and that will become your outline, and that will then be the table of contents. And once you have that, then you either start writing and you give yourself a word count and you give yourself a deadline, or you work with somebody, you work with a who, with a who can get that done for you.
Well, that's a perfect takeaway for me and a segue. So how can the audience get in touch with you, and what are some of those best next steps if they have that idea and they say, hey, I'm ready, I have a great story to tell, I want to leave that legacy? How do they get in touch with you?
The best place to go to is leaderspress.com/discover, where you're going to go through a 1-minute quiz that will help you understand what type of book you should write. So we talked about lead gen, we talked about legacy pieces. This will tell you what you should write, and you're also going to get an audiobook because you like to listen, right? You're going to get an audiobook of Outsource Your Book, which explains the 17 steps to creating a best-selling book. And all that is at leaderspress.com/discover.
Well, thank you so much, Alinka. I really appreciate you being on board today. And if you didn't hear that, audience, that's leaderspress.org/discover. So, Alinka, thank you so much for being on board today. I'm so happy that we got to have this conversation. And if I can leave the audience with a quick note, there's always going to be great stories. And if there's a way that you can impact someone with your vision and your legacy, then today is the best day to get started to do that. So thank you so much again for being on board the show with me.
Thank you so much for having me, John. So excited.
And I want to thank you, the audience, for tuning in. Of course, I hope you all learned some new things today. I certainly did. I'm going to have to start thinking about what my outline is and what my legacy is and what book I want to write. Remember to subscribe and share these episodes. You can go ahead and click that subscribe button down there in the bottom corner. And of course, all the information to get in touch with Alinka will be in the comment section below, as well as the Blue Comet Media links. And I look forward to seeing you all get marketing in the digital space.